Hi, my name is Joy Solomon. I'm currently a notary signing agent. I got into the business about 4 or 5 years ago, and I did it primarily because I was interested in learning more about the documents for real estate transactions. So, as a notary signing agent, as opposed to just a notary, I am authorized and I went through a more thorough background check to do closings when it comes to people buying and selling homes, which is another step. So, initially, when you become a notary, you have to apply through the NNA, which is the National Notary Association. Take a test, and once you do that, you submit the forms to the state, and then you become commissioned. Once you're commissioned, then you've now applied to be a signing agent, which is the notaries that deal primarily with real estate and closings.
Now, can you tell us a little bit about who your customers are?
Primarily, I work with homeowners, buyers, sellers, a lot of title companies, some builders, and on top of being a notary signing agent, I am a commissioned notary, so I'm able to do birth certificates, passports. So I get a lot of walk-ins on those, and then a lot of the customers that I do receive are through third-party companies, which will pretty much kind of put an ad out and say, hey, we have a signing available. Are you available? Can you do it? And I say yes or no and accept the fee, or I negotiate my fee.
What certifications or training did you complete to become a notary signing agent, and how do they help you in your work?
So I went on the NNA website, which is the National Notary Association, and there's a tab you say become a notary. You apply, you take a test. It's about an hour and a half, 2 hour pretty much test you can kind of do in a day. Kind of common sense and legal, ethical things, what type of notaries you can accept, your responsibilities as a notary, your responsibility to the public. On top of that, after I complete the test, if I pass it, then I print out this form. I apply for a notary commission with the state of Arizona. You pay your fees, and on both ends, you do have to pay for it. You pay for the notary course itself, and then you also have to pay to be commissioned. Once you send in your application showing that you have completed the NNA training and you for the commission, you will then wait for anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks to hear back from the state. And if everything is good to go, then you will officially be commissioned. The NNA offers a lot of helpful tips as far as there's a big issue when it comes to like elders sometimes. They may not be in their right state of mind. You want to make sure no one's under duress, which they're not being coerced into signing anything they don't want to. You always have to make sure the identifications match up with the names on the documents, as well as you're required to have bonds and for different amounts of documents that you're dealing with. So if you're doing $1 million property or a commercial property, you're going to need a higher bond. And that's something that you go into, I say, a little bit further down the line once you get a little more experience. But as a new notary, I would definitely say just go get your notary commission. It's cheaper, but you do kind of have to scout around for jobs. But it's something that everyone needs. So,
What made you want to become a mobile notary specifically?
well, with being a signing agent, being a mobile notary is part of the job requirements, if you must say. Kept my overhead low as far as I didn't have to instantly go get a building or an office to rent out. But with the closings that you do when you do these home closings or buyer seller packages, a lot of times you go to the buyer or seller's place of choice, whether it be their home, a restaurant, a coffee shop, wherever they choose to. You go to them, so you are able to charge the title companies a fee for travel as well as whatever fee you charge for the documents that you're signing.
What kind of documents do you notarize most often? Is there any interesting story behind any in particular?
I get a lot of acknowledgments, a lot of jurats. Acknowledgments are just if I say, hey, this is a paper saying that you're agreeing to pay this much on your mortgage every month. You're acknowledging what this paper is said is true and you're agreeing to it. So that's probably one of the most popular. I find when I have a lot of two-parent households, well, divorcees or kids that go between two houses. I get a lot of those, which has nothing to do with real estate. When they need their passports done, you need the authorization from both parties. And as a notary, I am legally trusted by the courts to truthfully say this is person Jane Doe and person John Doe, and they are agreeing to whatever legally binding document this is, truthfully and willingly.
Is there any interesting stories that you've had from any signings?
When I first started, I was gung-ho about getting all sorts of signings, and I accepted my first reverse mortgage, which a reverse mortgage is something for usually elderly people get it. You have to be a certain age, and it's pretty much the equity on your house will pay for itself, and then you might get a little back end. But when it comes to elderly people, they may seem like they are not all there, but they are more than all the way there. So my packet was like 350 pages long. The lady pulled out her last signing documents from when she purchased the house 20 years ago, and she compared every single page. I sat at her house for almost 6 hours. She was so sweet, but I was not ready for that experience, and I probably should have eaten before I went there. But it was a learning experience. And as I said, when I initially got into becoming a notary signing agent, it was because I wanted to learn more about real estate documents, because it was a field I was interested going into. With doing all the different types of signing, whether it's a closers, a hard cash money loan, buyer, refinance, HELOC, it's nice to see the documents. You get to, after doing them over the years, you get a better understanding of what documents are what means what's required. You'll see the commonality in all the different lenders, which forms are always going to be in certain packages. And now I'm at a point to where if I get a packet, because usually when I get a packet, I'll scan through it so I can say, hey, it looks like it's missing its 3-day recession period document in there, and I'll email the title company or whoever the lender is, and they'll say, okay, thank you. And they'll email over the forms, I'll print them out, and we're good to go.
Have you chosen to do any reverse mortgages since then? Since that one time?
No. Honestly, they don't pay well. I mean, I get it, but I can honestly say, even with dealing with elderly people who refinance their home or might pull out money out of their house, they always read through everything. And when I say read through everything, a typical deed is anywhere from like 18 to 30 pages, and they read every last page. So yeah, when you work with a lot of companies, you know the documents, so you can kind of summarize what the packages or what each section of the documents are, and you just say, hey, this is your Alta statement, and it's a breakdown of your fees. And then you look through this, see if these numbers look right, because usually the people do talk with their loan officer or whoever their settlement agent is prior to me coming. So a lot of times they have this stuff before I actually make it to their location, so they can kind of expedite the process and we're not just catching them off guard. But time to time, we do have that happen.
So would you say that then the majority of your business is just working with clients, not so much other businesses like banks or insurance companies?
No, not so much. As far as other businesses go, I'm almost like an independent contractor / freelancer. So there are companies that will hire me. Although I am self-employed, I don't have a W-2, but I will get 1099 through other companies. So like I said, we'll say American Title Company or Bob the Builder Construction Company, and they have their own lender. In order to get these documents signed and be legally legit, they need to be notarized. So then either the builder will call me and say, hey, Joy, are you available? I'll come out. And that's more of my business to business with working with those people. And then they'll pay me out as opposed to the person who I'm doing the signing for paying me directly. And it sounds weird because if you look at the paperwork, it's coming out of their funds, but it's done through a third party. So
complicated.
Yeah, but it's kind of simple, but yeah.
That's good. How do you structure your pricing? Flat fees per signature or like per mile of travel?
There's a little bit of mix. There is a state mandated of what you can charge per document. So they'll say you can only charge a max of $10 a document. And this varies from state to state. Also, if you do become commissioned as a notary, you have to be commissioned per state. It's not, I'm a notary for Arizona as well as Texas and California. I'm only commissioned here, so I can only do notarizations in Arizona. So yeah, each state sets a limit. Now you're allowed to charge additional fees, where if you come in, I print your documents, I can charge you a fee to print, I can charge you per mile. A lot of the real estate documents, they have an average of what they want to charge you. And that can be negotiated, because I can honestly say I do not charge the same amount for a 100-page document as I do a 20-page document. And even then, as I said with the other lady, a 300-page document. And when I do my pricing, I base it on the cost of materials, because a lot of times I am responsible for printing the documents, unless it is somebody who's bringing something into me. But if I'm printing a 150-page document and a cartridge of ink costs me $50, a ream of paper costs me another $12. So I'm $62 out, and I'm breaking down my cost. Okay, 125, 150 pages may cost me about $12. So I take that into account of what my pricing is, and then I look at mileage, because as a notary signing agent, as I said, I go to different people's houses. So I may be in Queen Creek, I may be in Anthem. I can accept them as far as Flagstaff if I want to, but you definitely want to make sure you have an eco-friendly car or it's worth your while, because to drive to Flagstaff for a $40 signing really doesn't make sense. That's just an example. That's not how they really price you, but it's just an example.
Like mobile notaries out in Flagstaff for that.
Well, they do, but a lot of these companies that you work for, you have to sign up on their vendor list. So now you put yourself on as a vendor, and then they'll reach out to everyone who signed up on their list.
So what are you going to Chandler Gilbert Community College for?
I am currently here working on my my associates in business.
Where are you planning on going for your bachelor's?
Honestly, I was looking at going to Scottsdale Community College. They offer a business management bachelor's there, so it's cost friendly.
What resources, mentors, books, courses have helped you the most?
As far as being in school, I'm a returning student, and when I went to school the first time, I did not take advantage of the resources that were on campus. So I've utilized the life out of the Coyote Center. I scrolled through every tab on Canvas. I've been to the career resources. I've opened this email, and that's how I landed on this interview. I try to read everything. If I see a vendor out, I want to talk to them. I go to the college fairs. I go to the Student Resource Center. I just try to see whatever the school has. And if there's a way it can help me as A, a student, B, an entrepreneur, C, a parent, in any way possible. And the networking and top tier, like you meet people in all walks of life, and you never know what you may need from someone or what they may need from you. Me just saying, they're like, "Oh, you're a notary?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am." And it works out that way.
You could give one piece of advice to other student entrepreneurs, what would it be?
It's never too late. Never too late. I'm in my 40s. It's never too late.
Where do you see yourself and your business in 5+ years?
Well, as far as notary, I plan on keeping it, because I think it's something great to have forever. As I stated before, I got into this because I was interested in the real estate stuff. So on top of being a student here at Chandler Gilbert, I am looking into becoming a mortgage loan officer or a mortgage loan originator. And that was part of the reason I did this, so I can learn more about the docs, because that exam is really hard.
So if somebody was needing a notary, where can they find you?
You can find me on findanotary.com, also SnapDocs. Usually you can kind of just go on Google or Yelp and just say, find a notary near me. And if I'm local enough, you can come to me, or I can come to you, just depending.
And well, thank you so much for coming on. I
Thank
really
you for
appreciate
having me.
I hope you enjoyed this little interview.
Hell yeah.